وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. We're continuing inshallah the chapter of making dua for the sick, and we're going over various du'as that the Prophet ﷺ would say. We'll move on to the next one. وعن أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله تعالى عنه أن جبريل أتى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال يا محمد اشتكيت فقال نعم قال بسم الله أرقيك من كل شيء يؤذيك ومن شر كل نفس أو عين حاسد الله يشفيك بسم الله أرقيك رواه مسلم. In this beautiful hadith we learn that our Prophet ﷺ was once sick, and Jibreel came to visit him and said, O Muhammad ﷺ, are you sick? And the Prophet ﷺ said, yes. And then Jibreel did ruqya on him and said, Bismillahi arqiq, I do ruqya on you in the name of Allah, min kulli shay'in yu'dhik, from every single harm that is irritating you, wa min sharri kulli nafsin aw aynin hasid, and from the evil of every person or of every evil eye, Allahu yashfik, Allah will cure you. And then he finished as he began, Allahu or Bismillahi arqiq, in the name of Allah, I am reciting ruqya on you. Now this is a beautiful hadith because it gives us many, many benefits. First and foremost, that even Jibreel fulfilled the sunnah of visiting the sick. That when the Prophet ﷺ was sick, he came down without any wahi, without any Quran, just to visit him and make dua for him. And so this is a beautiful indication that, of course, who is worthy of visiting the Prophet ﷺ? Jibreel himself. This also demonstrates the maqam of our Prophet ﷺ, the status of our Nabi, our Prophet ﷺ, that the greatest of all angels would come down just to visit him when he was sick. This also shows us that our Prophet ﷺ was a human being. He was not superhuman. The fact that he falls sick indicates what? And this is a clear indication that there are some groups in our times, in their extreme exaggeration and love, they say things about the Prophet that really almost borders on shirk, or it might even be shirk sometimes. Our Prophet ﷺ was a normal human being in that he was born a normal birth. He lived a normal life, he died a normal death, he ate, he drank, he married, he had children, he went to the supermarket, he bought, he sold. He's a human being, but he is afdalul bashar and khairul bashar. He's the best of human beings. And as a part of a human being, he obviously will fall sick. And this clearly demonstrates he's not superhuman or divine. And there are many instances of him ﷺ falling sick, falling off of a horse, being injured in a battle. The famous Hadith al-Bukhari that he fell off of a horse and he had to sit down for 1 month. He could not stand up and pray. And this is a regular, falling off of a horse is something anybody, it happens. You fall off staircase, you fall off. The fact that the Prophet ﷺ is undergoing these things, clearly the Sahaba never had these types of bizarre views that some later Muslim groups developed. Because they interacted with the Prophet ﷺ, they realized he is a regular human being. Also we have the beautiful thing here that Jibreel comes and asks him that, Ya Muhammad, are you sick? Now obviously Jibreel could address him in his first name because that's Jibreel. Right? We are not allowed to address him in his first name. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, لا تجعلوا دعاء الرسول كدعاء بعضكم بعضا. O you who believe, do not call the Prophet as you call one another. It's an explicit verse in the Quran. We don't, here dua al-Rasul means calling. Da'a means to call. Don't call the Prophet ﷺ as you call one another. So the Sahaba, none of them would say, Ya Muhammad. We only find Ya Muhammad in the seerah when a non-Muslim addresses him or when an ignorant Bedouin addresses him. Never does a Sahabi, well known for his ilm, come and say, Astaghfirullah, Ya Muhammad. No, it is always, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Nabi Allah. This is how it is done. And also, by the way, even the kunya, Abul Qasim. So it is authentically narrated, a man called in the marketplace, Ya Abul Qasim. And the Prophet turned around and said, Naam. And the man became so embarrassed and mortified. He said, Innama anaytu fulan. I meant so and so, not you. I didn't mean you. I meant Abul Qasim fulan. He became so embarrassed. So the Prophet said, Tasammu bismi wa la taknu bi kunyati. Call yourself by my name, but don't call yourself by my kunya. And most of the scholars say this was only in the life of the Prophet ﷺ. Some scholars say, no, you're not even allowed to be Abul Qasim until the Day of Judgment. But the correct opinion is that it was for a specific reason, because of this incident here, that when the man says, Ya Abul Qasim, and our Prophet's firstborn was Qasim, so his kunya throughout his life was Abul Qasim. So when he said, Ya Abul Qasim, the Prophet thought it was him. In any case, Jibreel has the only Islamic right, and of course Allah Azza wa Jal, of course in the Quran as well, وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ. So Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran, Jibreel, he has the right to call our Prophet by the name, Ya Muhammad. So he says, Istakaita, are you sick? Now, question to all of you. Did Jibreel not know he was sick? Yes. So why is he asking?
He wasn't that well.
But did Jibreel know or not? Jibreel knew. Jibreel knew, صح? Of course Jibreel, that's why he's coming down. But he's asking him, are you sick? Etiquettes, very good. What else?
Getting medicine.
Getting medicine? That's going to come right now. Nice try.
That's okay to tell others.
It's okay to tell others that you're sick. Okay, could be derived as well. The story in Surah Taha, وَمَا تِلْكَ بِيَمِينِكَ يَا مُوسَى. What is in your right hand, O Musa? Doesn't Allah know what is in the right hand of Musa? What's the purpose of the question here?
To make known that the Prophet can fall sick. Is that by asking him?
Okay, this is a benefit, yeah. But
comfort.
the what? Icebreaker? Does Jibreel need an icebreaker with the Prophet?
To confirm.
To confirm it, it's a way that it calms you down. It opens the conversation, right? You know, even somebody as, you can say icebreaker, but perhaps not the word icebreaker is a little bit too formal. Like, so the example of Musa and Allah Azza wa Jal. Musa is terrified. What is happening here? Allah is speaking to him. So, by asking him, وَمَا تِلْكَ بِيَمِينِكَ يَا مُوسَى, what's in your right hand? It's human nature. You calm him down, you take the mind off of what is bothering him, you go to something else, you have to recollect your thoughts to answer, right? So the Prophet isn't sick, he's suffering fever, he has a fever. So by asking the question, are you sick? So the mind kind of goes away from the pain and suffering, it kind of alleviates the issue at hand, and then it opens up the door for the next chapter, which is the ruqya, which is to do the ruqya. And it is human nature that when you are, thinking about something, somebody asks you a question totally unrelated, you have to snap out of it. You have to get out of that thought and then answer the question. And this is beneficial. Also, another benefit, as Jibreel didn't just barge in and put his hand and start doing ruqya. Rather, it's an introduction that how am I going to get to the ruqya? So all of this shows us etiquette. Who said etiquette over there? All of it shows us etiquette and manners as well. That even if you know somebody is troubled, but he didn't tell you, it is etiquette. You go and ask him, is everything all right? You know everything is not all right. You know it. Somebody has told you, right? Now we're talking about, obviously, if you're not maybe supposed to know. If it's something public knowledge, somebody's relative passed away, you don't have to begin like that. But suppose, and it's very common, that a close friend of yours doesn't come to you, but you find out through a second friend, financial problem, marital problem, and you sense it. You say, is everything all right? I sense you a little bit, So then you make his heart soft and open up, right? He opens up to you. So all of these we can benefit from Jibreel asking Rasulullah, are you sick or not? And the fact that the Prophet said yes, it shows us, maybe Danish's point here as well, that there's nothing wrong with informing people of your personal issues and problems, as long as, now there's a number of conditions here that scholars give. Of them is that there's nothing wrong with telling people of your problems, but you should not desire their sympathy, you should not desire their pity. Because a Muslim has karama or dignity, that he doesn't desire pity. So, and this is the perfection of Tawheed. If you desire their pity, it's not wrong. It's not like you're sinful. But the perfection of Tawheed, you rely upon Allah. And this we learn from Yaqub alayhi salam, إِنَّمَا أَشْكُو بَثِّي وَحُزْنِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. I only complain of my problems and misery and sorrow to Allah. And he doesn't complain to them. So the point being that it is allowed in this case, there's nothing wrong. Somebody's asking, are you sick? You're not going around groveling for their pity. Somebody's asking you directly. So the Prophet said, yes, I am. So then Jibreel taught him, and this shows us why Jibreel came down to teach him this ruqya. And therefore, we should memorize this ruqya. This is a divine ruqya that Allah Azza wa Jal sent Jibreel to demonstrate upon the Prophet ﷺ. What better ruqya can there be? Right? What better ruqya can there be? Who is doing the ruqya? Jibreel. Upon whom? Rasulullah ﷺ. Who taught him? Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is something that really needs to be memorized. Bismillahi arqiq. In the name of Allah, I am doing ruqya on you. And to do ruqya means to recite something for the sake of causing shifa. Right? This is what ruqya is. To recite something to cause shifa. By the way, I didn't mention that there's two types of ruqya shar'iyya and ruqya bid'iyya. There's two types of ruqya, that which is Islamic, that which is un-Islamic. And Islamic ruqyas are those found in the Quran and Sunnah, or those which involve Islamic concepts, i.e. invoking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And ruqya that is bid'ah or shirk is the incantations or wordings that either have wordings of kufr and shirk, or they are gibberish and not in intelligible languages. Now this involves the issue of black magic, which we haven't discussed that much detail. I was supposed to give you part 2 of the jinn session, I remember now, right? You've been asking about, but that's the black magic thing. Maybe one day, inshallah, we'll see. But it's honestly a bit awkward to talk about these things. Nonetheless, that type of, so black magic is actually ruqya shirkiyya. It's actually ruqya shirkiyya. Because what are you doing? You are doing incantations. This is a ruqya, but it's ruqya of shirk. So this is all, and because ruqya means to recite with the intention of causing an impact, right? And therefore, this is ruqya shar'iyya, and that's ruqya shirkiyya or bid'iyya. And our Prophet ﷺ said in an authentic hadith, "I'rudu alayya ruqakum," bring to me the ruqyas that you are doing. For every ruqya is fine as long as there is no shirk in it. It's an authentic hadith that the Sahaba had their own ruqyas. So it is allowed to make your own ruqyas. So, and how do you do this? So we have, for example, in India, Pakistan, Ya Shafi, Ya Kafi. Now this phrase has not been found in the Sunnah. But there's nothing wrong with when you take a medicine, you say Ya Shafi, Ya Kafi. Is this an Arab thing? I don't think so, right? As far as, You say it as well. When you take medicine, you say Ya Shafi, Ya Kafi. Okay, so I thought this was only a Indian Pakistani thing because I hadn't really heard this. But this phrase is not found in the Quran and Sunnah. Is it bid'ah? No, it's not. As long as you know it's not Sunnah, it's not. Because isn't of the names of Allah Ash-Shafi, isn't of the names of Allah Al-Kafi. So this is an example of our Prophet I'm saying, go ahead and show me your ruqyas, because all ruqyas are fine as long as there's nothing that is shirk or wrong meaning in them. But no doubt, what is the best ruqya? The ones that are found in the Sunnah. So, Bismillahi arqiq. With the name of Allah, I am doing ruqya. Ruqya is not done in any other power. Anybody who uses another name, essence of shirk. Bismillahi arqiq. In the name of Allah, I'm doing ruqya. What am I doing ruqya for? Min kulli shay'in yu'dhik. From everything that is irritating or harming you. I'm asking Allah, in the name of Allah, to get rid of everything that is harming you. And then specifically mentioning 2 things. Min sharri kulli nafs. From the evil of every soul. Wa min aynin hasid. And from the ayn that is a jealous or an evil eye. So, as for the evil of every soul, this could be a physical pain, or it could be somebody who has done sihr as well, because as we know, in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, sihr was done on him. Sihr was done on him. And so we seek refuge in Allah from the evil people, and from aynin hasid. And the topic of ayn is a long topic. I talked about this in detail when we did Surah Yusuf 4 years ago, mashallah tabarak, it's been 4 years. I talked about ayn when we talked about Yaqub telling his sons, لا تدخلوا من باب واحد وادخلوا من أبواب متفرقة. Don't enter in one door. All of you separate and enter in different doors. And very briefly, what is al-ayn? Our Prophet said, al-aynu haqq. This is an authentic hadith, 2 words. Al-aynu haqq. Hadith reported in Abu Dawud and Tirmidhi and Imam Musnad. Al-aynu haqq. Al-ayn is true. So anybody who denies it has explicitly gone against the hadith of the Prophet. Ayn is true. What is ayn? Ayn is an impact that Allah has allowed. Obviously, it's from the permission of Allah. The jealousy of the one who is jealous to have on the object of his jealousy. This is what ayn is. Ayn is an evil impact that emanates from the heart of the one who has jealousy. And for some reason, and something from ilm al-ghayb, we do not know how, that jealousy, that's a burning jealousy, somehow sparks out and can impact the person who is the object of jealousy. And generally the medium is through the eyes, and that's why it's called the evil eye, al-ayn. But it's not necessary that it be through the eye. A blind person can also give you ayn. It's not necessary, it has to be through the eye. It's really from the burning jealousy. But what makes a person jealous? 99.9% of the time it is seeing something. 99.9% of the time it is seeing something, right? That's why it is called al-ayn. But it doesn't have to be by visual aid. Now, just a side point here. Allah knows best. I've done a number of research and whatnot about this, and even done ruqya upon certain people and spoken to the jinns. We're not going to go into detail there. Allahu alam, I think, it's my theory, that ayn comes from the qareen of the person. And there are other ulama that hold this as well, right? Because what will jealousy do in the heart? What seems to happen, you know the qareen. The qareen is the shaitan that's whispering to you. What seems to happen is that this jealousy seems to empower this qareen of yours, to then give him some type of power he needs to go and harm this person. Because if you think about it, how does the ayn get to the person? If it's in your heart, how will it get there? And this is something that many previous scholars said, and in my own experience as well, this seems to be the case, that it is actually jinn related, but it's not sihr. And the difference between sihr and ayn is that sihr, you call the jinn and you send the jinn to the person. Whereas in ayn, you do not call the, so sihr must be shirk. Sihr must be shirk, because you call the jinn and you then invoke the jinn, you invoke the name of the jinn, then you send the jinn. So you have done something of ibadah to the jinn. But ayn is not shirk. Ayn, you do not call the jinn. Somehow the qareen gets empowered through your jealousy, and it then goes to the person. But you are sinful, but it's not shirk. You are sinful because why? Because certain emotions of the heart are sinful as well. Now, this is, well, I'm going to all of these different things. Inshallah, we'll just finish with this. The general rule, what is inside the heart is forgiven, correct? This is the general rule. What is inside the heart is forgiven. There's just a few exceptions. So, the general rule, you daydream about something, you imagine committing a crime. It's not any sin, right? You imagine something. Suppose you are, astaghfirullah, may Allah protect me and you, somebody is a drug addict, right? He is battling the drug, but he's imagining taking drugs. Is Allah going to punish him for imagining taking drugs? No. He is forgiven for this, okay? So, majority of internal thoughts are forgiven. There's not a problem. Certain things of them is to continue to think evil thoughts of Allah and His Messenger without combating those evil thoughts. Astaghfirullah, right? Su'al dhan billah. Now everybody gets an evil thought and you push it out. That's normal. In fact, that is the essence of iman. Because shaitan's throwing something in and you push it out. But to allow the evil thought to digest and to take root in your heart, la hawla wa quwwata illa billah, to allow yourself to think of these things, this is kufr. It's kufr, it's not even a sin. What would be a sin of the emotions that is sinful is jealousy. That is allowed to fester in the heart, right? Because our Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ الْحَسَدَ تَأْكُلُ الْحَسَنَاتِ يَأْكُلُ الْحَسَنَاتِ. That being jealous eats up hasanat like vinegar spoils honey, so something spoils honey. So just like this spoils honey, so having hasad in your heart, it eats up your good deeds. Just having it, that's it, without acting upon it, because your having it will have an impact. So we seek refuge in Allah from aynin, hasid, and that's why, for example, in Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas, we seek refuge in Allah. وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ. One of the big evils, وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ. And by the way, in Surah Yusuf, I talked about the procedures for avoiding hasad, and of the simplest procedures, don't boast about what Allah has given you to people that will have hasad of you, right? Don't be careful about what you say to people. That's why Yaqub said to his children, and they were all the most handsome of men, well, strong, powerful men, and they were all brothers, like 10 brothers walking in. And that's a tribe right there, and they are in fact the tribe of Bani Israel, right? Of course people are going to be jealous of them. Who are these handsome strangers, all dressed in exotic garb, all of them, all just like, moons walking on this earth, because the beauty and the handsomeness of their mother and father. So he said, split up, 1 or 2 here, 1 or 2 there, and this is one of the simplest ways of narrowing down hasad. So وَمِن شَرِّ عَيْنٍ إِذَا حَاسِدٍ, and then Allahu yashfik, Allah will cure you. So this is tawassul with Allah's attribute of shifa. Allahu yashfik, Bismillahi arqiq, in the name of Allah I am reciting ruqya on you. So this beautiful dua, let us memorize it again. Bismillahi arqiq min kulli shay'in yu'dhik. Bismillahi arqiq min kulli shay'in yu'dhik, min sharri kulli nafsin أو عين حاسد من شر كل نفس أو عين حاسد الله يشفيك, and then بسم الله أرقيك. Okay, and if you haven't memorized it, you can look it up here or in any book of dua, and inshallah we will continue tomorrow بإذن الله تعالى. والسلام عليكم. Yes.
Good. So hasad or ayn, can it not be unintentional? Sometimes you don't say mashallah.
Hasad or ayn, can it be unintentional? Scholars have differed, but it appears that it can be unintentional. That's why it's even more dangerous. It can be unintentional. If you allow the jealousy, even if you don't want to harm him, it is possible it can be unintentional. So you have to guard yourself against jealousy.
Say mashallah, don't.
But say mashallah is one of the ways as well. Mashallah.